Hey y'all, this is Bre'Anna and this is the Divine Intervention Podcast. I have been racking my brain trying to figure out what kind of video content I want to make because my brain is overly complicated like that, and it makes things that's actually very simple way harder than it has to be. And so I decided that whenever I have good sunlight, we're just gonna make a video. So let's get into it. I think that because I write a bunch of ideas in my journal, and then for my longer episodes, I literally just pull an idea from the journal. But I think that what I want to talk about right now is I want to talk about a realization that I had. I actually wrote about it earlier today because I recorded like a mini episode video thing, but it was only audio, and I was like, I said that I'm going to start doing video and stop being afraid of cameras, and so here we are. And that realization, it was actually attached to the I'm Good, I Promise series. Do not mind me if I look like I'm looking in other directions. I'm looking out a window, and I love people watching and watching the world go by. I think it's so cool that all of us live in ecosystems with each other. But I don't know any of these people that's passing me by. But one day I might meet them, but who knows? That's a beautiful thing to me. Anyways, that's not even what this episode is about. This episode, or this mini series thing, is about how, in connection to the I'm Good, I Promise series, I wanted to discuss the realization that I had about myself. And this little mini video is titled Learn How to Move Out the Way. And I titled it Learn How to Move Out the Way because I noticed in my life that I talked in an episode about how I'm a fixer. And when I see a problem, I want to fix it. But in a lot of instances in life, that mindset can block other people from learning the lessons that they're meant to learn if you're solving their problems for them. And I had this realization one night when I was laying in bed, and I was thinking about the I'm Good, I Promise series because my brain goes off on tangents. And so I thought about 3, 4, 5 different episodes I could do. But one that really stuck out to me is that I was laying down and I was thinking about relationships, friendships, family, partners, whatever. And I thought about how there have been a lot of times in my life where I've been very frustrated with people. Just talk to any therapist I've ever had. And I realized that in the midst of my frustration, that there have been a lot of times where I've been frustrated with people, and I really could not be frustrated with anyone other than myself for multiple reasons. But for this specific reason, I'm talking about the fact that I realized that I had a tendency to help people to their detriment. And when I say that, what I'm saying is that because I realized that I was a fixer and that I always wanted to help, there's nothing wrong with helping. But I did realize recently, or a couple of months ago, I started to restructure and approach relationships and things with people differently after I had this realization. In the midst of making myself useful or trying to help people and solve problems and make the world a better place, not saying that that piece is a bad thing, that sometimes I would help people and solve their problems for them. And then the lessons that they were meant to learn, they did not learn because I blocked their soul's lesson. And the reason why that really struck me so hard is that I would then simultaneously become upset that people were not grasping the obvious lesson. Of course, the lesson is obvious if you've went through the hard work of learning the lesson. I think a lot of times I would be people's buffer. And ultimately that would frustrate me because I understand what I did, but they do not understand what they did because they have never particularly dealt with a certain situation. And I wrote a couple notes here. I scribbled all over the page. And I wrote about how when you swoop in and you create people solutions, they don't really gain the ability to solve problems on their own. And they also don't gain the self-awareness. They don't gain the soft skills, the hard skills, the mental endurance. I talked a little bit in a random video I recorded the other day because I do like personal vlogs about how people can understand endurance. And I hate using such a blatant example, but I think a lot of times you gotta meet people where they at. People can understand endurance and discipline when it comes down to things that give them instant self-gratification. People can understand it in regards to sex. They can't understand it in regards to liquor. They can understand it in regards to those things in life that give them instant gratification. But then when it comes to you putting in the long haul type things, it gets harder for people to understand that in certain situations. And I'm saying this because I finally realized the other day, I would have conversations with my dad and I would be irritated because he would talk to me like a fortune cookie. And I would be like, okay, but what's the solution? He would be like, you have to figure that out yourself. I'm like, bro, whatever. Just solve the problem. What is you doing all of this for? And it took me a minute to realize that the reason why he was talking like a fortune cookie was because there are a lot of things in life that's literally, it's giving you spiritual endurance. I don't know if there's better words for what I'm trying to say, but grasp the message. And when I say spiritual endurance, what I mean is that your ability to, I guess the way people in the church say, stay steadfast on something. Like your ability to genuinely believe that a breakthrough point will come through and that what you are currently experiencing is for your soul to learn a very specific lesson. And in this video, I think what I'm getting at is that I would see people going through certain things. I would see them learning certain lessons, and rather than falling back and just letting them learn the lesson, I'm like, oh, I can help. Just want to be handy, just want to help everybody. I can help. And then halfway through helping them, I would get frustrated because in my head, I'm like, why can't they see that this? They can't see it because you're standing in the way. You're standing in the way. When it's time for them to do the hard work that forces them to see themselves, to see the situation in its entirety, and to then be self-accountable or to make those hard decisions, you're standing in the way and cushioning it instead of allowing people to. And when I say this, I mean in a lot of different relationships, friendships, you're standing in the way. That particular thing probably would have taught them that character trait that you're frustrated that you feel like they ain't grasped yet. You did that. You stopped them from learning the lesson that they were supposed to learn. And I'm saying this because one of the things that I'm kind of the biggest on is, and it's why like sometimes I prefer not to talk, is that it's easier to observe things in other people's life than it is to observe it in your own life. And I recently reached this place where I like trying to challenge myself to see if I can see when I'm doing the thing that I get pissed off when someone else does. I'm the type of person, I would get very frustrated in any situation when I saw someone babying somebody. I would be like, baby, they grown. But then I realized, Brie, you do it too. Think of it in a more training wheels kind of way. But inevitably, you're still blocking someone from facing themselves. And I think what particularly makes it interesting is that I would then get frustrated because I would be like, well, when I'm learning my lessons, ain't nobody blah, 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 well, duh. Because they ain't got you ain't nobody standing in the way of you learning your lesson. You're standing in the way of other people learning theirs. And it really spoke so much to me, not even discussing this from looking at other people's perspective, flipping it back on myself. I realized that I was a fixer because that was the way that I saw myself to be of value. Almost in a way of giving myself permission to take up space by making myself useful. Like I'm an asset and not a person. I had to unpack so much with that one. Oh my gosh. And I think that for me, so much changed when I stopped approaching relationships like I had to hold my weight. When I stopped approaching friendships like I had to hold up my end of the bargain. Like obviously if someone is in your life, they're in your life because they want to be here, honey bun. You don't have to hold your weight. But I think that in a lot of instances that I've been in spaces, that was kind of the sentiment. It was expected for me to kind of hold my weight. And I carried that into different relationships, areas of my life, because I could not give myself permission to take up space. I cannot give myself permission to allow myself to be in a way that is not making myself beneficial. And so that is one realization that I had. I thought it would be good as a part of the I'm Good, I Promise series, because I think it goes back to this idea of trying to be a good person, because whenever I would do this, it would be me trying to be like a good, in my head I was like, well, I was being a good this, or I was being a good that, or I was trying to be a good person. And I think a lot that I want to unpack in this I'm Good, I Promise series is that sometimes you can think that you're doing something to be good and the impact ain't good. Impact versus intention is two different things, and you have to be able to be self-accountable enough to rock back and say, even though you did not mean any harm, did you do any harm? So yes, that is all that I wish to share today. Drink water, touch some grass, make a Pinterest vision board, and I'll see y'all in the next one.